We watch the stories where a killer is caught and led away in handcuffs. Meanwhile, in a climate-controlled room you will never see, a human skull rests on a foam cradle, tagged with a number instead of a name. It has no birthday on file and no family to claim it. Investigators in the United States recover roughly 4,400 unidentified bodies every single year. This chart shows those 4,400 annual cases. While most receive a name quickly, about 1,000 slip into a colder category. Stack those years on top of each other, decade after decade, resulting in tens of thousands never claimed. This backlog exists because of a systemic failure to connect the remains with the families who are still awake, wondering where their brother, daughter, or friend went. The dead do not always fall where they lived. Someone vanishes from a town in one state and is found years later, hundreds of miles away, in a county where their face means nothing. This creates a physical disconnect. A local investigator holds the body, while a missing persons report sits in a filing cabinet 1,000 miles away. Forensic recovery aims to collapse that distance, putting the remains and the family search in the same room. Before any artist begins their work, a forensic anthropologist reads the remains like a document written in calcium. The shape of the pelvis suggests a biological sex. The fusion of joints and the density of the bone narrow an age range. Healed fractures and surgical scars leave signatures of a specific life. Teeth provide a particularly loud voice. This diagram shows how the pattern of fillings, crowns, and extractions creates a unique history that can be compared against dental records of the missing. Surgical pins and replaced hips often carry serial numbers and lot codes. These can be traced back to the year of manufacture, and sometimes to the specific hospital that ordered the part. These details provide a detailed sketch. A man in his 40s, 5'10", with a break in the left forearm that healed years before death. However, this profile requires a matching medical record to become a name. When the physical records do not exist, investigators attempt to build a face out of the bone. This process relies on decades of research, measuring the thickness of human soft tissue at specific points across the face: the brow, the cheek, the jaw, and the tip of the chin. The artist places small pegs at precise anatomical landmarks on the skull. Layer by layer, clay fills the valleys to simulate muscle and skin. In tests where scientists build faces from living people's skull scans, the results are geometrically close. However, when researchers ask if the finished face actually leads a person to recognize the subject, the success rate hovers around 50%. A reconstruction acts as a lead rather than a photograph. It is a best estimate, designed to spark a jolt of recognition in a mother or a daughter who has been searching for years. For decades, if the face failed to generate a lead, the trail went cold. The body simply stayed nameless. The old DNA systems only compared a handful of genetic markers, which worked only if the person or a close relative was already in a criminal database. For unidentified remains, that approach failed over 80% of the time. Forensic genetic genealogy changed the search. Instead of a handful of markers, this technique reads over 1 million points simultaneously. It finds matches through distant cousins and ancestry tests, building a family tree backward until it narrows to a single person. In studied cases, this method has a success rate of around 50%. Moving from a 13% hit rate to 50% shifts the search from a reliance on human recognition toward a broader genetic net. This work is performed by a quiet ecosystem of professionals and volunteers whose names rarely make the headlines. Unpaid volunteers and amateur web sleuths spend their nights cross-referencing national databases. They look for the tattoos, specific height ranges, and regions that official systems missed. This requires high empathy from the forensic artists and scientists. They sit with the final moments of a stranger, attempting to do right by them through bone and clay. The human reach of the sculpted face and the mathematical reach of the family tree are partners. They work together to ensure the phone rings in a town no one expected. There is no villain in this story. It is a quiet effort to prevent a human being from vanishing. Returning a name identifies where someone went and provides a family with a location for their grief. It marks the point where the person is no longer a number on a tag. If there is a mystery you have been unable to shake, tell us about it in the comments. We look there for cases to investigate next. Subscribe for more deep dives into the evidence of unsolved cases, and thank you for spending this time with us.